Now, despite being a brand that can look fondly back to some of the most legendary chronograph releases of all time, TAG Heuer doesn't always resonate with certain segments of the enthusiast market who have leanings towards admiring vintage Heuers. This challenge of keeping products fresh while appealing to lifelong fans has created some polarization. However, this year, TAG released a watch that made many turn their heads, myself included, with the 39mm Glassbox Carrera. And today we're going to be doing a deep dive of the blue dial variant. Let's jump in. Now, if you're a fan of just chronograph watches in general, I would recommend checking out our article down below looking at 31 of the best chronographs in 2023. Have a link in the description down below. Great jumping off point for your research, wide variety of price range that we're looking at in that guide. We'll have that in the description. And then also we have some great new products that were just added to the site on teddybaldassarre.com, just to call out a few of them. First, we have the Mito Decompression World Timer. This is basically taking their very famous decompression dive watch that has been loved for quite some time. It was not a standard production model within their collection, and now we're getting it, but also getting it at 40mm and getting some true GMT or world time functionality in the process. 80-hour power reserve, very wearable case, solid water resistance, and a design that I think is very much its own thing. And then finally, a new product from the PRX collection, one that nobody was expecting, and that is the PRX Lume Dial. Yes, a Lume Dial. It looks white when you have the lights on, but when the lights go off, the party starts. Check them all out in the description as well on teddybaldassarre.com. This is just scratching the surface of some of our new releases, how we're able to fund all our production here are through selling watches on our site, so we'd love to have your business. Starting with a brief background on the brand and the Carrera model family, Heuer was established in 1860 in Switzerland, with the brand later having been acquired by the TAG Group, Technique des Avant-Garde, and changing its name to TAG Heuer in the 1980s. For most enthusiasts, the brand's most significant contributions to the horological world are associated with motorsports, with the original Carrera taking shape in 1963 as the brainchild of Jack Heuer, the great-grandson of the brand's founder and a dedicated auto racing enthusiast. Already being a supplier of dashboard clocks and timing instruments to various racing organizations, the original Carrera was intended to be a refined yet capable instrument for drivers and automotive enthusiasts, pairing the brand's trademark polished and faceted lug design with a hand-winding valjoux caliber in a package that, at the time, set you back a nice mean $90. Named after the Carrera Pan America, a dangerous rally race across Mexico, the original Carrera was a massive hit for Heuer, cementing a sports chronograph design format that has relatively sustained its status. Over the ensuing decades, Heuer and then TAG Heuer released dozens, if not hundreds, of different hand-winding and later automatic Carrera models, some of which were right on the money design-wise and some that were leaving a lot to be desired. As the industry as a whole has begun to further appreciate heritage designs, we've seen several excellent vintage-style Carreras, yet the widely desired 39mm case was mostly reserved for limited and special editions. But 60 years after the original release of the line, the new 39mm Carrera Glassbox answers the many requests of having a standard production model that demonstrates an elegant balance of old and new. To start, there are two variants of the new 39mm Carrera, a black reverse panda dial that leans more heavily into a vintage direction, and the blue that we have here, which is my personal favorite of the two. Now, looking at the dimension set, the watch measures at 39mm in diameter, 45.7mm lug to lug, and a 14mm thickness. The glass box is larger than the original 36mm Carrera of 1963, yet it still feels precisely in line with the type of sizing so many people are looking for in 2023, especially from TAG. Given the bezel-free design with its sloping tachometer scale that shoots towards the caseback, the glass box wears true to size, or if not even slightly smaller. The shorter lug to lug means this watch is going to work well on all but the smallest and largest of wrists out there, while not feeling too thick in the process, undercutting what most brands will be able to do with a conventional valjoux. This Carrera comes equipped with a smooth padded strap in navy blue, tapering from 20mm at the lugs to 18mm and securing by way of a milled push button deploying clasp that neatly hides the strap tail. The clasp operates well in providing the utmost flexibility to customize the fit as a result of not having the traditional holes in the strap for sizing. The only small aspect of this configuration that was a bit of a challenge was the bolstered nature of the strap. It did take a bit of work to slide through the narrow clearance of the clasp, causing more wear than normal on the upper lining of the leather. As a note, the other black dial variant of this model family offers a perforated strap that aligns more with the Carrera's racing roots. Moving along to case finishing, this model upholds a case silhouette and finishing strategy that has been preserved over decades by the Carrera. Calling back to some of Heuer's earliest 1940s chronographs, the lugs are broad, faceted, and polished in a way that makes the front of the watch striking. In contrast, the case sides have a display of vertical brushing. At 3, a proportionally large 6.3mm push-pull crown provides prominent ridges for easy grip, along with the brand's shield signature on top. Resting besides the crown, we have broad pump style pushers that, along with the crown and screw down case back, secure this model's very solid 100 meters of water resistance, a nice point of differentiation against other leading chronographs in this segment. One of the biggest points of novelty to this new model is the box section sapphire crystal that is also the source of the Glassbox nickname, intended to evoke acrylic crystals of years prior. Given the prominent dome effect, you might expect a lot of distortion and glare. However, the capable anti-reflective coating on both sides works well in providing view of the striking multi-dimensional dial lying underneath. Now, a chronograph dial manages to typically offer more three-dimensionality given the register layout, with this Carrera going another step further given the unique dial perimeter. Since this watch lacks a conventional bezel, the tachometer scale in this instance sits on the outskirts of the dial, being positioned on the outwardly sloping lip mirroring the curvature of the crystal above. On the opposite sloped edge that ramps down to the center dial sits a minute track with small circular lume plots above the recessed areas used to house the applied indices that extend closer to dial center. The primary dial surface houses 3 sub-registers in the traditional Carrera layout, with the 30-minute register at 3, the running seconds at 6 above the frame date aperture, and the 12-hour totalizer at 9. The sub-registers at 3 and 9 are elevated from the central surface by way of a concentric circular finish. As a point of differentiation, aside from the color, the black dial variant has a date display at noon and 3 raised sub-registers that offer a reverse panda format vintage Heuer lovers will sure know and love. At 12, there's the white Carrera text that is above the brand logo, just as it was on the original 2447 of 1963. The modernized handset still follows general code of the Carrera and a stylized baton handset with a slender black strip in the center that is interrupted by a sliver of luminescent material. Between the depth, intriguing curves, integration of some of the Carrera's most proven design elements, while incorporating new concepts, this watch design manages to stick the landing of molding old with new, creating a package that is reverent to the past without totally relying on it to form a future that is not repetitive. Flipping the Carrera over is view of a sapphire exhibition caseback showing off the visible vertical clutch column wheel movement, essentially an updated version of the Caliber 2 that has seen inclusion in so many TAG Heuer chronographs. Operating at 4 Hz or 28,800 vibrations per hour, the original aim of the Caliber 2 was to have a thinner caliber with fewer parts and a longer power reserve. A tall order for a modern chronograph movement. At 6.9 millimeters in thickness, a reasonable metric by automatic chronograph standards, this movement is on a short list of luxury chronograph calibers in this price arena. With the updated version here released alongside this collection, TAG Heuer introduces bidirectional winding with a re-engineered gear train. In addition, the oscillating weight has been redesigned, now offering a skeletonized take on TAG Heuer's shield. Looking beyond the Geneva waves on the central bridges and the few polished bevels, the movement is finished in a rather straightforward manner, being done to a more utilitarian degree, enabling view of the column wheel easily. As you'd expect from a column wheel vertical clutch caliber, chronograph operation has positive tactile feedback and feels precise at the pushers. In terms of general operation, again, 28,800 vibrations per hour, 4 Hz, does feature hacking and hand winding, hacking stop in the second hand when you pull the crown to the farthest position, and a power reserve of 80 hours. But now let's unpack, talk a little bit about the cons, the pros of this watch, and some of my closing thoughts. To begin with some of the cons, I think one of the things you have to mention here is just the competition where it sits. You're talking about just north of $6,000 for this watch. It's in the price range of the Speedmaster, Black Bay chronograph, Breitling is in the mix, Zenith is in the mix, so a lot of legends in the chronograph sphere. The movement is more utilitarian in its focus as well in terms of finish. And then also I will mention the point about the strap. Given how the clasp is going to be of a deployant variety, the big upside of a deployant is it doesn't wear out the strap that is going to be paired with it. In this case, that is not going to happen just because of there not being any holes. That's great for utmost flexibility when it comes to sizing, but also comes with that downside of maybe adding a bit more friction to that top lining of the leather for different straps. But now let's talk about the pros. And this was a watch, and if you recall looking at my video talking about some of the best releases of 2023 so far, I mentioned this piece. Now, part of that was because it was so unexpected. TAG at times, although they have this remarkable history, they have a collector base that I think so many people love just vintage Heuers and will just jump at the opportunity to, want to give the brand the best benefit of the doubt. Sometimes with the model releases in the past decade, it just feels like they're missing the mark and not answering to what that consumer that is really a diehard would be looking for from the brand, or maybe somebody that is looking in the direction of the brand wants to take them seriously from more of an enthusiast crowd, but just isn't really seeing anything that's there for them. This watch changes all of that. For one, the size is going to be in line with what many people I think would want to see. It's more of this mid-size chronograph, 39 millimeters, wears relatively true to that size. The design is inspired from the past, from a model that is absolutely legendary, but it also is not completely imitated. It's a great compromise of incorporating TAG's current DNA with the design of the past, and I think it's done to a wonderful degree. The Carrera nowadays is almost overlooked when it comes to legendary chronographs, but if you're talking about the pantheon of chronographs in the world of mechanical watchmaking, you have to mention the Carrera. The Caliber 02 on the inside, 80-hour power reserve, vertical clutch, column wheel movement. In the price range, it does check off many of the boxes. 100 meters of water resistance, 2 different dial colors to choose from. This is just one of those watches for me that is somebody that has a love-hate relationship with TAG Heuer at times, just because something like this I am all about. Some of their other watches just don't really do as much for me. But with this piece, they've absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I hope this is signs for more great things to come from TAG Heuer, because if this is the case, I think there are going to be more enthusiast collectors that are going to be looking in the direction of TAG Heuer if this is the direction that they are going in. And I am absolutely a fan of this piece. Is it the best chronograph for $6,000? I don't think we can say that, but is it absolutely in the running and could be a great consideration for those that are looking to buy a luxury chronograph? To that, I will answer an absolute yes. But all right, guys, that is my take looking at this new TAG Heuer Carrera. What is your thought on this watch? Have you had an opportunity to handle it in person yet? Even if you haven't, what are you thinking about this release? What do you think of TAG Heuer and their direction, if this is the direction they're going in? Love to see comments down below. This was one of those watches that really surprised me at Watches and Wonders this year, and I'm happy to be able to take a bit more time to review the watch, spend some time with it on the wrist. I would have worn it for this video, but I had to send it back a day early because Ryan Gosling apparently needed it for an emergency photo shoot. So, when duty called, I suppose. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that. Also, definitely check out TeddyBaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. How we're able to fund all of our productions is through selling watches on TeddyBaldassarre.com. So if you are in the market for a watch, we know you can shop pretty much anywhere for a watch, but we would love to have your business. Allow us to keep doing what we're doing here, and we really would appreciate that. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.